As darkness deepens outside, the heart of each medieval home begins to glow with warmth. The evening meal, though humble in ingredients, is the day's most comforting ritual, a time when families gather, stories are told, and silence is shared. The floor is hard-packed earth, cool beneath bare feet. If the family is fortunate, they may have a bone left from a slaughtered animal, adding richness to the broth as it simmers for hours. The air is scented with wood smoke, dried herbs hanging from rafters, and the savory aroma of pottage bubbling gently over a low fire. Step inside a small cottage. Its walls wattle and daub, patched with years of repairs. Pottage, the staple of most villagers' diets, is a thick, hearty stew. It begins with water, slowly heated in a blackened iron pot. This is not the soft, fluffy bread of modern bakeries. Medieval bread is dark, dense, and often coarse, flecked with bits of bran or ground legumes used to stretch expensive wheat. The loaves are baked on stone hearths or communal ovens, their crusts tough but filling. While pottage forms the meal's foundation, bread completes it. As the meal nears readiness, the father or eldest in the household stirs the pot with a long wooden spoon worn smooth by generations of use. Sparks occasionally drift upward as a log shifts in the hearth, sending shadows dancing on rough walls. The fire's orange light flickers across faces as family members gather near. On the table, little more than planks nailed together. Wooden bowls or trenchers wait. A trencher, made of stale bread or thick wood, serves both as plate and edible dish. A single sharp knife, carefully kept, is shared among the family. Spoons are sometimes made of horn or carved from wood. For those who can afford a pig, bits of bacon or lard may find their way into the stew, lending a rare, smoky savor. Salt is precious, gathered or traded from distant shores, and used sparingly. Herbs such as parsley, thyme, or sage, grown in small garden plots, brighten the pottage's flavor, adding layers of scent that linger in the warm air. A typical scene unfolds in hushed tones. A mother ladles pottage into each bowl, moving with slow, practiced care. The father breaks a loaf in two, passing pieces to children who wait, eyes wide with hunger and curiosity. Each child says a small prayer or makes the sign of the cross before taking the first bite. Conversations during the meal are quiet, respectful of the day's fatigue. A neighbor's good harvest may be mentioned. News of travelers passing through. Whispers of new taxes or distant wars. But mostly there is silence. Chewing, swallowing, and the soft clink of spoons against bowls create a gentle rhythm. For families who live with their animals, the sounds of bleating goats or clucking hens drift into the meal's quiet. Chickens sometimes roost on rafters above. Their occasional squawks are a reminder of the living, breathing world within these walls. Some evenings, a guest might join, a traveling peddler, a cousin from a neighboring village, or a hired laborer offered shelter. Hospitality is a duty and a joy. The host offers the best spot near the fire and the first ladle of pottage, however simple it may be. Shadows gather in corners, making the world beyond the hearth seem vast and unknowable. Lighting is meager. Tallow candles, their flames small and smoky. Rushlights, made by dipping dried rushes in animal fat, burning with a soft, sputtering glow. The occasional luxury of ale or cider brightens the meal. During lean times, after a poor harvest or during harsh winters, meals shrink to thin gruels, and the evening ritual becomes one of endurance as much as nourishment. Brewed from barley, wheat, or apples, these drinks are low in alcohol, but safer than water from nearby streams. Children may sip weak ale, the drink of all ages in a world weary of illness, carried by impure water. Food is never taken for granted. Each crumb is precious, each drop of broth a gift. Those slightly better off might own a small cheese, pressed from goat or cow's milk, wrapped in linen to age near the hearth's warmth. A sliver of hard cheese transforms a simple pottage into a feast, the creamy tang lingering long after the meal ends. As bowls are emptied, the mother or eldest daughter wipes each with a cloth, then sets them aside on a shelf above the hearth, ready for tomorrow. There is no cutlery drawer, no abundance of dishes, only the few cherished items, passed down and carefully maintained. The evening meal is more than sustenance. It is an anchor. It marks the end of toil, the gathering of family, and the soft boundary between day's burdens and night's rest. It is here, in this quiet time, that bonds of love, trust, and shared hardship are strengthened. As night presses in, dogs curl near doorways, their ears alert to sounds beyond the village palisade. The faint notes of a lute or recorder may drift from the tavern down the lane, where a few villagers linger over stronger ale. Laughter is muted, warm, and unhurried. Outside, the sky grows deeper in color, from dusky blue to velvet black, stars beginning to prick the darkness like tiny lanterns. A crescent moon rises above the treetops, its pale light silvering the roofs of cottages and barns. Inside, stories are sometimes told in low voices. Folk tales of cunning foxes, mischievous fairies, or saints who walk the earth fill the shadows with wonder. A grandparent may recount memories of a good harvest long ago, or a terrible winter that tested everyone as resolve. Each word, every pause, settles like a blanket over listeners drifting into drowsiness. The family remains together a little longer, basking in the warmth of shared space, until sleep beckons them to softer dreams. Soon, the fire is banked low, a careful arrangement of ash and embers that preserves heat through the night. The glow illuminates soft faces, eyelids growing heavy, shoulders slumping with the day's exhaustion. The evening meal ends not with haste, but with a slow unfurling of silence. And so the second chapter of our night unfolds, a quiet, nourishing interlude that binds each heart to home, each soul to the fragile, enduring thread of life in a medieval village. The evening meal has ended, but the day's final hours are not yet done. In the quiet hush that settles after dinner, each household turns to its nightly rituals, gentle patterns that shape life, soothe worried hearts, and mark the boundary between waking toil and the promise of sleep. The first ritual for many begins at the hearth. While the meal has warmed the body, the hearth warms the soul. It is here, by the orange glow of banked embers, that families linger. Some mend garments by the light of rush lamps, needles glinting softly with every stitch. Others weave simple baskets or repair wooden tools worn by the day's labor. In one cottage, a mother gathers her children around her feet. She combs their hair with a hand-carved wooden comb, untangling knots as she hums a low, sweet melody passed down from her own mother. The tune, old as the hills, winds through the room like a gentle breeze, lulling restless little ones toward drowsiness. Elsewhere, fathers sharpen small knives on whetstones, their hands moving with deliberate calm. The rhythmic rasp of blade against stone creates a meditative sound. Tools kept keen and ready are vital for survival, and honing them is a nightly reassurance that tomorrow, too, will be met prepared. In some homes, old stories are told. Legends of brave knights, of saints who healed the sick, of trickster animals who outsmarted larger foes. Grandparents, voices cracked with age, recount tales that blend truth and myth until both feel equally real. Children listen with wide eyes, firelight dancing across their faces. Faith shapes nightly rituals deeply. Before bed, families often gather before a small wooden cross or painted icon hung on a wall. These images, crude but precious, connect them to the divine in a world where illness, hunger, and war are constant threats. Prayers begin softly, whispers carried to heaven. Lord, watch over our home tonight. Protect our fields, our animals, our loved ones near and far. Forgive our failings this day and grant us rest. The words are simple but heartfelt, the culmination of a day's worries released into the quiet night. Children are taught these prayers from the time they can speak, so each generation learns to find comfort in the same words. Some villagers, especially those who remember times of plague or raids, light a candle in memory of lost friends or family. The flame flickers as a symbol of life as fragility, and the hope that souls find peace beyond earthly struggles. Bathing, though not nightly for many due to scarce soap and water, sometimes features in these rituals. He pauses at each gate, checks the latch, and moves on. His steps crunch softly on gravel or packed dirt. He listens for suspicious rustles or distant howls. They exchange hushed gossip of faraway battles or news from merchants who passed through that morning. When they finally leave, their footsteps echo along empty lanes, and doors thud shut behind them. Silence slowly reclaims the village. His presence reassures those inside that someone stands guard against both man and beast. A wooden tub is filled with warm water heated over the fire. One family member may bathe while others wait their turn. Privacy a rare luxury in cramped cottages. Herbs like lavender, sage, or rosemary are added to scent the water and ward off pests. The steam carries those scents through the home, mingling with wood smoke. The night watchman walks the village perimeter, carrying a lantern. At the village tavern, a few late drinkers finish their ales. Lovers might steal a final moment before parting, meeting in the shadows of barns or hedgerows, whispering promises as the moonlight silver their faces. These quiet rendezvous, rarely spoken of in daylight, weave secret threads through the village's fabric. Cats slip through rafters and thatch, hunting mice in the gloom. Roosters doze on high beams, heads tucked under wings. Cows shift in their stalls, tails swishing lazily as they find a comfortable spot to lie down. Meanwhile, animals have their own rituals. Dogs curl against doors to guard their masters. In the corners of homes, household gods or protective charms stand sentinel. A pouch of herbs hung near the door, a carved figure by the hearth, or a small iron horseshoe nailed above a lintel. Fathers ensure coals in the hearth are safely banked, coiled in ash so they'll spark again in the morning. Doors are bolted with wooden bars dropped into iron brackets, simple, sturdy locks to keep out intruders. Whether born of faith or folk belief, these tokens comfort families as they surrender to sleep. With chores done and prayer said, a final check of the home begins. Mothers feel the walls and shutters for drafts. They stand beneath stars so bright they seem close enough to touch. Villagers gather around small fires as music drifts across the stones. The melodies are slow, mournful, or playful, matching the moods of those who listen. Coins are dropped into the minstrel's cap, laughter bubbles up, and for a short while, worries dissolve in song. Constellations like Orion or the Great Bear hang above the black silhouette of the forest. Without lanterns to wash out their light, the stars dominate the night sky, a grand, eternal canopy. On clear nights, villagers step outside before retiring. Children cling to parents' hands as they search for falling stars or trace the Milky Way's pale river. For a few moments, the day's struggles are forgotten, replaced by awe at a universe vast beyond imagining. Some nights, traveling minstrels or storytellers are welcomed into the village square. But these visits are rare. More often, nightly rituals are quiet, inward. Hearts speak to the divine. Hands prepare the home. Voices soften. And when the final candle is pinched out or left to burn low, darkness fills the cottages like a gentle tide. Outside, the moon casts pale beams over fields and barns, the only light strong enough to catch the glint of a watchman's lantern or the eyes of a prowling fox. Shadows stretch long and deep, merging with the edge of the forest. Inside, breaths slow and deepen. Children lie tucked close to parents or siblings. They shape not just the night, but the soul, forging a community bound by faith, love, and the simple dignity of lives well lived. Adults rest their heads on coarse linen pillows, stuffed with straw or feathers if they're lucky. Lulled by the familiar creaks of their homes, the sigh of the wind, and the knowledge that rituals have been observed, they surrender to sleep. These nightly rituals, these humble, reverent acts, have sustained countless generations. They teach patience, gratitude, and resilience. And as darkness wraps the village in its soft, endless arms, the rituals fade into dreams, ready to begin again with the coming of dawn. Night deepens. The village grows quieter still, as one by one, candles are snuffed, doors are bolted, and beds are readied. In these final moments, before sleep claims them, the villagers retreat to their bedchambers, simple yet cherished spaces where dreams will carry them until dawn. A bed may stand against one wall, a heavy wooden frame holding a mattress stuffed with straw, or, for the fortunate, feathers from geese or ducks. Over time, the straw is flattened and replaced, often mixed with dried herbs like lavender or chamomile to mask odors and discourage insects. Children snuggle between parents or siblings, small bodies radiating heat in the darkness. The comfort of closeness outweighs any longing for privacy, and in the gentle rise and fall of breathing, each family member finds reassurance. In many cottages, there is only a single room, serving as kitchen, living space, and bedroom. Furs from rabbits, foxes, or deer are sometimes laid on top, prized for their softness and insulation against bitter winter nights. The bed is covered with blankets of wool, woven in coarse patterns, but surprisingly warm. Most families share a bed, not just for lack of space, but for warmth. Over time, the ropes sag, requiring the bed to be tightened regularly, giving rise to the familiar saying, "Sleep tight." A few cottages have rope beds, ropes strung tightly across a wooden frame, supporting a straw mattress above the cold earth. In wealthier households or manor houses, separate bedchambers may exist. Here, beds are larger, more elaborate, with tall posts supporting heavy curtains. These curtains are not only decorative, but practical, trapping body heat and shielding sleepers from drafts. Within such beds, embroidered linens dyed in subtle hues add a touch of luxury and color to the night. Yet even in grander rooms, darkness prevails. Without glass windows, a rare luxury, wooden shutters block the night wind. Through cracks in timber walls, the sounds of the village drift in. The distant bark of a watchman's dog, the sigh of the forest, the lonely call of an owl. As families settle in, final words are spoken softly. Parents remind children to keep their feet tucked under blankets, to hold their siblings close, to remember their prayers. Small hands clutch rag dolls stuffed with scraps of cloth or straw, cherished comfort in the vast night. For couples, the bedchamber is also a place of quiet intimacy. The thatched roof creaks in the wind. Mice sometimes scurry in the rafters, their tiny feet pitter-pattering like soft rain. Cats, voice barely above a whisper, as her children's eyelids grow heavy. These songs are passed from generation to generation, their melodies weaving stories of old heroes, blessings, and gentle wishes for peaceful rest. If kept, patrol these beams, eyes gleaming green in the faint light as they hunt nocturnal intruders. Beneath layers of blankets, the fire in the hearth is banked with care, buried under ashes to keep embers alive until morning. The faint glow casts moving shadows on walls, shapes that flicker like old memories or half-formed dreams. They share whispered thoughts or gentle laughter, and what exists must last for years. Servants might sleep on pallets of straw near their masters' doors, close enough to respond to calls in the night. Farmhands may rest in lofts above barns, the warmth of animals below rising through the floorboards, a living furnace against the chill. Coarse linen sheets are washed rarely, as soap is expensive and water is laboriously carried from the village well. Lice and fleas are constant nuisances, combated with herbal remedies or ashes, sprinkled between bed layers. The worries of the day slowly melting into the warmth of each other's presence. Above them, on cold nights, bedclothes are few. Some families keep small braziers of glowing coals near the bed, warming feet and hands before sleep. The risk of fire is ever present, so these braziers are carefully tended and never left unwatched. A mother may hum a lullaby in homes with more space. In castles or manors, the lord and lady's bedchamber is often a place of both privacy and duty. Visitors may be received here during the day. Servants bustle in and out, and at night, only trusted attendants remain. A fever that begins in the night may claim a life by dawn. Mothers lie awake listening for the ragged breathing of a sick child, counting each breath like a prayer. Yet even the grandest beds cannot hold back the dark entirely. The same moonlight spills across stone floors. The same fears of sickness or misfortune haunt every household. In every bedchamber, sleep is a fragile gift. Illness can strike swiftly, without warning. The clamor of the marketplace, the clang of the blacksmith's forge, the bleating of sheep, all fade into memory. Tomorrow will bring new challenges, new hopes. But tonight, there is only the softness of straw, the warmth of blankets, the closeness of loved ones. Yet despite these fears, sleep arrives as the night deepens. Adults may dream of fields heavy with grain, or old loves long gone, or journeys they'll never take. In the rhythmic chorus of breathing, peace settles over the village like a soft blanket. Clouds may scud across the moon, shadows dance among tree branches, but inside, the bedchamber is a sanctuary. The village's heart beats slowly, each home a chamber in the larger body, each bed a cradle of dreams. Outside, stars wheel overhead, silent and eternal. They have watched countless generations drift to sleep beneath thatched roofs and stone walls. In these moments, the labors of the day recede. Children slip into dreams filled with stories heard by the hearth. Knights battling dragons, cunning foxes stealing pies, saints performing miracles. And as sleep deepens, the village's sounds become a lullaby of their own. The sigh of wind through shutters, the distant babble of the brook, the soft murmur of trees swaying against each other. Hours pass in the darkness. Stars trace slow arcs across the sky. The moon sets, and night reaches its deepest silence. The bedchamber becomes a world unto itself, separate from time, safe from the unknown beyond wooden doors. In this shared slumber, the village gathers strength. Hopes are rekindled. Bonds are renewed. The bedchamber is not merely a place to rest. It is where the heart of the family beats strongest, where the cycle of life pauses before beginning anew with dawn's light.